Howie Roseman wasn't a player, he wasn't a scout. He didn't even have a football background, just a law degree and a dream to run an NFL team. Mocked, demoted, doubted, and now he's the mastermind behind a Super Bowl champion and the most feared GM in the league. So how did he build a team that easily made it to the Super Bowl and completely dismantled the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs? It all starts with the quarterback Jalen Hurts, who was drafted late second round in 2020 to be the backup for Carson Wentz. There were concerns about whether Hurts could be a good enough passer at the next level, and he was seen more of a project QB with potential than a day-one starter. Hurts became the starter late in the 2020 season due to the benching of Carson Wentz. We saw Hurts break out in 2022 where he passed for 3,701 yards with 35 total touchdowns, leading the Eagles to a 14-1 record as a starter, finished second in MVP voting, and took them to a Super Bowl. Hurts played incredible, putting up 370 for total yards and for touchdowns. Despite his performance, the Eagles still lost the game. Most fans believe this was a turning point in Hurts' career, but he disappointed in 2023 and was inconsistent through the first half of the 2024 season, having some rough games. Hurts really turned it up the second half of the season and stepped it up even more in the playoffs, cementing himself as an elite quarterback. Hurts greatly improved over his career and turned out to be a massive steal for the Eagles. The Eagles signed Saquon Barkley to a 3-year deal worth $38 million because the Giants did not want to pay him, which went down as the best move of the offseason by any team. Barkley won Offensive Player of the Year, finished third in MVP voting, and rushed for over 2,000 yards. During the 2022 NFL Draft, the Eagles made a blockbuster trade where they acquired A.J. Brown in exchange for the 18th pick and the 101st pick. The Titans drafted wide receiver Treylon Burks with the 18th pick and traded the 101st pick, which made the trade Brown for Burks straight up. In those 3 seasons, Brown has made to Pro Bowls, 261 catches, 4,031 receiving yards, and 25 touchdowns, while Burks has 53 catches, 699 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown, making the trade one of the most lopsided in NFL history. After the trade, they signed Brown to a 4-year $100 million extension. The year prior, the Eagles traded up from 12 to 10 with the Cowboys to draft wide receiver Devonta Smith, giving up the 12th overall pick and a 3rd-round pick. Smith won the Heisman, but there were concerns about him being too small and skinny. Smith has certainly lived up to the hype, being the best wide receiver 2 in the league, and being at least a top 20, maybe top 15 receiver. Over 4 years, he 308 catches, 4,011 yards, and 27 touchdowns, and was signed to a 3-year $75 million extension, and they also extended A.J. Brown for 3 years $96 million. During the 2024 offseason, locking up a top 3 wide receiver duo for the next few years. In 2018, the Eagles drafted tight end Dallas Goedert, who has been a top 10 tight end for a few years now. He's Jalen Hurts' 3rd option and has been very reliable and a key piece to the offense, putting up good numbers every year. The best part of the Eagles' offense was their O-line, which completely dominated the trenches all season. Left tackle Jordan Mailata had the highest PFF grade out of any lineman in the NFL. His story is incredible because he never played college football but was instead a rugby player. Despite never playing a snap of football, Roseman took a shot on Mailata in the 7th round, and it sure paid off, being one of the greatest 7th-round picks in NFL history. Left guard Landon Dickerson was drafted by the Eagles in the early 2nd round in 2021. Dickerson has been a Pro Bowler for the past 3 years and one of the best guards in the league. Moving over to center, the Eagles drafted Cam Jurgens in the late 2nd round in 2022 to take over when Jason Kelce retired. He didn't see any starts his rookie year but started at guard in 2023. With Kelce retiring at the end of the 2023 to 2024 season, Jurgens would take over as the starting center, where he performed well and made a Pro Bowl this season. At right guard was Mekhi Becton, who was a former 11th overall pick by the Jets who didn't work out with them. Becton played tackle for the Jets, but the Eagles moved him over to right guard, which worked out well. Becton was one of the better guards in the NFL, and this season could have turned around his career in a good way. The Eagles decided not to retain him, and he was signed by the Chargers. Back in 2013, the Eagles drafted tackle Lane Johnson with the 4th overall pick, and he has been worth the pick. Johnson is a six-time Pro Bowler and four-time All-Pro and still playing some of his best football at 35. Johnson didn't allow a single sack last season, which is absurd for a tackle. Now we'll look at how they built the best defense in the league that made the Chiefs' offense look like an XFL offense in the Super Bowl. In the 2023 draft, the Eagles moved up a pick to number 9 to draft D-lineman Jalen Carter. Carter was supposed to be gone by 9 but had off-the-field issues, causing him to fall. He proved why he should have been drafted higher by becoming one of the best interior D linemen in the NFL and making a Pro Bowl last season and being second-team All-Pro. He had 4.5 sacks, 42 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 16 QB hits. Next to Carter on the D-line is Jordan Davis, who was the 13th pick in the 2022 draft, who's been solid and especially good against the run. The Eagles drafted Milton Williams in the 3rd round in 2021, who only started 7 games for Philly but was still an essential piece of the Eagles' defense, contributing 5 sacks, 24 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 10 QB hits. Williams just got signed to a monster contract by the Patriots. Edge rusher duo Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat helped provide the Eagles with an excellent pass rush, combining for 14.5 sacks, 83 tackles, and 17 tackles for loss. Smith was asked to step up this season because Roseman decided to trade Hassan Reddick because they couldn't agree on a contract. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise for the Eagles because Reddick was horrible with the Jets this season, finishing with 14 tackles and 1 sack despite having 11 sacks the previous season with Philly. Smith stepped up in his second year after seeing a depth piece role his rookie year. After being drafted with the 30th pick in 2023, Josh Sweat was with the Eagles since 2018, where he was drafted in the 4th round, 130th overall. He didn't start until 2021, where he made a Pro Bowl and has been a productive starter ever since. Sweat was a monster in the Super Bowl, finishing with 2.5 sacks and 6 tackles, and signed a contract with the Cardinals in the offseason. The Eagles signed Zach Bond to a 1-year $3.5 million deal, expecting him to be a depth piece, but he might have been the best off-ball linebacker in football, being first-team All-Pro, making the Pro Bowl, and finishing 5th in the Defensive Player of the Year race. Bond had 3.5 sacks, 151 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 5 forced fumbles. Bond was easily the biggest defensive steal in the offseason and was resigned for 3 years, $51 million. Next to Bond was Nakobe Dean, who had a breakout season, finishing with 3 sacks, 128 tackles, and 9 tackles for loss. Dean was taken with the 83rd pick in 2022 and is looking like an absolute steal. The downfall of the Eagles was their secondary in 2023, and Roseman made sure that wouldn't be the case again, drafting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Jackie Robinson DeJean with their first 2 picks. Both these picks look like massive hits, with both being some of the best corners in the NFL. As rookies, Mitchell was 2nd and DeJean was 4th in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, and DeJean had the pick 6 in the Super Bowl that set the tone for the rest of the game. Slay played well in 2024, although not at the Pro Bowl level from the past 3 seasons. They traded a 3rd and 5th round pick in 2020 and has been well worth it for the production he's given Philly the past 5 seasons. The Eagles added C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety in the 2024 offseason, where he played great and was the ball hawk of the defense, finishing with 6 interceptions. Reed Blankenship went undrafted in 2022 and was picked up by the Eagles, who has been a great addition, being one of the better safeties for the past 2 seasons, finishing with 7 interceptions and 191 tackles. Overall, Howie Roseman has done an excellent job building the Eagles to go on one of the most dominant runs in playoff history through trades, the draft, and off-season signings. Roseman has cemented himself as the best GM in the NFL.